Our Clippers are empowered to pursue their goals with curiosity, integrity, and resiliency. Clippers are creative, inquisitive, and engaged learners who participate in their community as socially responsible citizens. Clippers effectively communicate and solve problems that impact the world around them.
Thank you so much. In accordance with Massachusetts open meeting law, I remind everyone that the meeting is being recorded, in case you didn't already hear my computer tell everybody. And anyone who wants to make an audio or video recording of the meeting, please notify me by raising your hand either in person or remotely and state your name so we can notify the audience. Is anyone going to be recording? It's okay if you're recording kids and stuff, okay? All right, thank you so much. Public comment. No, we're either going to take public comment and then the presentation. She wants to stay for the student presentation. Sorry. No worries. Members of the public are welcome to speak to items that are not on the agenda. Comments are limited to 2 minutes in length, and due to the open meeting law, the committee cannot act on public comment. But the chair may accept comments from the public following the discussion of an item. Any additional comments and feedback can always be submitted by email to schoolcommittee@falmouth.k12.ma.us. Is there anyone for public comment tonight? Hi.
Get a chair up here.
Yeah.
Do we have one more chair? Oh, we have an extra chair here.
How many people do we have for public comment? Oh, we have a number. Would you mind if we take our students first?
Yeah,
Absolutely, that'd be okay. All right, great. So let's go a little out of order and take the presentation from East Falmouth school highlights. So all of our little visitors can share with us what they've been up to. Laura, do you want to introduce?
Yes. So I'm going to introduce our two new East Falmouth co-principals, Rose Moran and Nancy Ashworth. So thank you very much, and thank you for stepping in as our new principals. And I'm going to let you take off with introducing everyone.
Oh, okay. I'm Kate Scahill, third grade teacher here at East Falmouth Elementary, and I'm here with
Matt Manchester, also third grade elementary teacher here.
And Tara Draper, library and digital literacy computer science teacher here at East Falmouth.
with some tremendous third grade students who wanted to tell you a little bit about something that we do here at East Falmouth School, our all kids craft fair.
Hi. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Good evening. My name is Lincoln. This year, we celebrated our 45th anniversary of the All Kids Craft Fair. Just like the past years, this year was a huge success. It's a tradition at East Falmouth that the third and fourth grade students are able to participate in creating and selling their crafts, and we're pretty crafty. If you come to our craft fair, you will see everything from paintings and jewelry to ornaments and slime.
Hi. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Riley. We spend the weeks before creating our crafts at home and learning about buying, saving money, and running a small business. There's a lot to it. Just ask our families that support us. Before the craft fair, we prepare. In school, we get to play awesome little pizza company during tech time. In this interactive hand-on learning game, we practice buying, selling money, and running a small business. It's a fun way to practice our skills before the big day.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Owen. On the day of the craft fair, students and teachers from our building have the opportunity to shop during the school day. Thanks to all the teachers who take time to bring their classes down and hype up our craft fair to their students. Our prices are kid-friendly with most things selling for around $1. It's bustling and lively as customers come to shop. Some kids even shop for holiday gifts for their families.
Thank
My name is Delaney. This evening event is for grown-ups and families. We all come back to school to make sure our tables are looking great. It's nice to be able to invite the community in. Everyone is always happy and smiling. We learn to communicate with the public and practice good business skills. I love seeing how much people love my crafts. It makes me so proud. And I'm Forrest. The best part is we contribute some of our hard work and profits to a charity. We got to vote on what charity we think is best. And this year we selected a student, Lucas from Falmouth, who is battling bone cancer. With the generosity of the crafters and shoppers, we were able to donate $877 to help the family who needed some support. They were so appreciated to know that our community is behind them every step of the way.
That's amazing.
Doctors brought some examples of their crafts. Would it be okay? if
Yeah.
we showed them around?
Love to see you crafted. Come on up, let's see what you've got.
All right, let's go.
Come on around, give us a tour.
You'll also notice that in front of you while the kids are going around, there's a iPad and a game. This is the Oslo musical game that the students do during their tech class, their DLCS class, where they learn how to run a small business. And you are welcome to actually press the home button 2 times on your iPad. You can actually play the game if you would like to. Yep. Press it on the bottom 3 times. Let's hit start. And all of your pieces will be.
How much did you charge for soap? Because that's a big thing. That seems fair. Yeah, I love it. I wish I had some money to buy soap.
End up selling them like they're yeah.
I love it. Like the world. Yeah. You didn't have to go all the way
That's a great
That's one.
A lot of different crafts.
Delaney, if you want to help anyone.
Yeah, I can use some help.
Come on over. Can I help you do your crafts? Some of you might have some friends over there.
I'm on my way.
Okay, thank you. Are the students gonna help us too?
Wow, really cool.
Oh, that's pretty like that. Okay, help me out. Okay. One of those?
It's like a bead for Christmas.
Okay, let's make a pizza.
Oh, and if you
Oh,
want to
yeah.
come out,
Go this way.
this way.
Oh, this way.
I love it.
did not do it over
No way. Well, I have to actually make it.
Oh, all right.
Oh, right. How does it know that? Oh, now we are.
No, we're gonna do this all night. They were too.
If you'd like to continue to visit me today, you're welcome to join us. Secretary, can you help everyone to pack up all the stuff we can let move on? But you're welcome to join us during our touch times or any of our pizza days.
Thank you, Riley. All right, now I just have to. Oh my God, thanks so much. Very good.
Riley, you can be back there and I'll take Riley.
Right back, right? Thank you. Make sure I clean it all up.
Yeah.
So it went like this. This went like that. That's okay. All right, that on there. I don't think I'm doing it right. Here we go. And then I just close this.
You gotta.
You hit the button?
And then.
How many times?
Wow.
Thank you.
That was so fun.
We all flunked though.
I don't know. I had one pizza to pay the rent.
The learning curve.
But what a great learning activity. Mike, I'm sorry you missed it. It was pretty fun.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you taking time to bring them. It was so fun. Oh, love it, guys.
So one comment, fond memories of my three children participating in the craft fair as well as my grandson. Someday these kids will.
It'll come full circle.
Yeah.
We're gonna jump over to Isabel so she can fill us in on the comings and goings at the high school as our student advisory report. And then we'll go out of order again, public comment.
So there's about a week and a half left of the first semester, which I think is pretty crazy. So the year's been flying by. Many kids are meeting with their guidance counselors now in the next week and picking classes for next year. So we're really at like a big point in the year, so that's good. Athletics, boys varsity basketball is undefeated. They won. So they're 6-0 right now. And then the girls are also doing well. They had a big recent win against Martha's Vineyard. It was 40-16. So that was sports wins. Boys hockey beat their rivals Barnstable, and they also had the Tommy's Place game or night. And it's fundraising and it's a charity for kids fighting cancer. So that's always a big deal and gets lots of people to go. So that's always a highlight. And they won. So it's fun. Challenge Day at the high school, which is a new program, and it's about connecting and forming a more positive and inclusive Clipper community. So it's a full day, I think it's in February. And it's with teachers and students, and it's just about coming together, reflecting, moving forward, and reforming yourself to be a better person and along with like your school. So they do activities like small groups, sharing, and team building exercises. So that'll be really exciting to see what that has to come. And then next week, after MLK weekend, we have the winter sports and academic teams pep rally to look forward to. So that will be exciting. And junior class is planning that, so I have to figure that out. And yeah, so that'll be exciting for everyone.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you know if you're gonna be participating in Challenge Day?
I don't yet. If there's an extra spot, I think I will.
Yeah, it'd be great to hear
Mhm.
what that's all about, since it's the first time.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions for
Thank
Isabel about the comings and goings?
What grade are you in?
I'm a junior.
You're a junior.
Thank you for taking time to join
The
us.
school, each year goes faster than the next grade.
Yeah.
You're graduating in a minute.
Thanks, Isabel.
Thank you.
so much. Okay, public comment, thank you for being patient. Now we'll really bring a chair.
Get the chair.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Weird, sorry. The camera picks you up. Oh, is it like, yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, it works great. So just go ahead and tell us your name, and you have 2 minutes to.
Hi, Michelle Russell.
Thanks.
Last February, the superintendent applied for a grant offered by the Massachusetts Department of Early Education and Care, the EEC. The superintendent applied for $372,000 to add 3 preschool classrooms. Her budget requests included 1 new staff member per class, carpeting, desks, curriculum materials, etc. This grant was strictly to fund new additional classrooms. These funds were not for PT, OT, IEP, or anything student service related. These grant-funded classrooms are required to operate 10 hours a day, year-round. Had the district qualified for this grant, we would have been eligible to apply for $750,000 in fiscal year 25, and then up to $1 million in fiscal year 26. The last October, the EEC did not award this grant to the Falmouth Public Schools. Between November 20th and November 22nd last year, I sent 4 emails to the superintendent with questions and concerns with statements made within the grant. I found the grant narrative to be riddled with misleading and false statements. The superintendent never responded to any of these emails ever. So I went right to the source and asked the EEC to clarify some of my concerns. The EEC reached out to the superintendent for clarity as well. In December, the EEC then began and continues an investigation into this matter. This starts and ends with the superintendent. The grant coordinator was under the superintendent's direction. It is not her fault. Key staff members have and continue to resign. The future of the Coalition for Children is at risk as it's funded by the EEC. I choose this wonderful community-based program with committed staff over the superintendent, and you as a school committee should be taking action to ensure this program stays in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Who would like to go next?
My name is Amanda McGonigal. As the school committee prepares to begin the process of performance evaluations and presentations, I'd like to take my 2 minutes to remind the committee that performance evaluations are more than routine assessments. They're opportunities for growth, improvement, and accountability. For such evaluations to be effective, we must be honest and direct, acknowledging both successes and shortcomings. Sugarcoating challenges or glossing over failures does a disservice to the very people you are here to serve, our students, educators, and community. This evening, we hope the school committee can reflect on its own performance over the past 2 years, in addition to the performance of the administration. It is essential that personal, professional, and elected responsibilities are upheld at every level of governance, and the alleged actions herein by this administration and by default this committee should not be glossed over. To begin, I'd like to revisit the resignation of a previous director of student services, which occurred on May 10th, 2024. Shortly after, on May 15th, a new director was announced who happened to be the principal at T-Ticket Elementary, yet there's no evidence to suggest that this position was posted publicly or that there was a formal application and selection process. Transparency and due process are foundational to maintaining trust. These steps appear to have been bypassed. An interim one-year principal was put in her place, and still we have not seen a full-time job posting. In contrast, in December, we saw an abrupt resignation with the principal of East Falmouth. Immediately following the East Falmouth principal's email home to families informing them of the resignation, these families received a second email from admin reassuring them that a full-time principal position would be posted within the week. T-Ticket Elementary continues to wait for a permanent leadership posting. This delay stretches back to May 15th, 2024 and highlights a continued failure to meet expectations and follow through on communication promises made to the community. The district is reportedly under investigation for alleged discrepancies in recent grant applications. A quick example, in documentation secured via the Freedom of Information Act, the district claimed to have paid double the actual amount charged for services rendered and listed tasks outside the scope of the actual project to a local marketing firm. I can personally substantiate these discrepancies through original invoices and service agreements because I own this named marketing firm. This raises serious concerns about fiscal responsibility and the ethical integrity of our funding practices. Equally concerning is a supplemental police report recently provided by admin, in which they acknowledged the inappropriate use of police presence for intimidation tactics. After the school committee received a copy. You can finish it though. It's a long thought.
You're welcome.
Just to be fair. Are you sure? Okay.
Sorry, I meant you can leave the paper.
Oh, I can. Oh, no, I would prefer to have it continue to be read, if you don't mind. I'm gonna defer my 2 minutes to someone else.
We don't defer, so you're
Well, then-
welcome. We don't do that. You're welcome.
Sure.
How much longer do you have?
A little bit, so I'll give someone their 2 minutes.
I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying. We're not gonna.
Somebody else, I'm complete, and somebody else is gonna
Okay.
start.
My name's Brian J. Equally concerning is the supplemental police report recently provided by admin, in which they acknowledged the inappropriate use of police presence for the intimidation tactics. After the school committee received a copy of this police report, the admin allegedly approached the teacher at their place of work without union representation to question them about how the school committee obtained a copy of this police report. Actions like these undermine trust and foster a culture of fear and deviates significantly from the goal of creating a supportive and collaborative environment within our schools. Another issue worth highlighting is the ongoing failure to effectively address the communication challenges and skewed priorities outlined in the Navigating the Future proposals. While these priorities claim to focus on the district's most pressing needs, they do not reflect the critical issues actually facing our schools, such as unsafe workplace complaints filed with the Department of Labor, as just one example. It's worth noting that open investigations by entities such as Department of Early Education Care, the Attorney General, and the Inspector General remain active. These highlight the scale of the challenges we face, challenges that demand clarity, action, and decisive leadership. Throughout these various issues, one theme remains consistently in the administration's responses: a recurrent acknowledgement of mishandling key decisions, followed by assurance of doing better next time. Whether it be the passport, report cards, screen time in class, navigating the future proposals, or the use of police intervention, we continuously hear repeated iterations of, "I should have handled this differently." At some point, we must ask ourselves, is this pattern acceptable for the stewardship of our schools? Oversight is imperative. It is critical that decisions affecting our children, teachers, and schools are made transparently and ethically with proper accountability in place. We did open with the fact that it is important to acknowledge both success and shortcomings. We feel it's important to note the wonderful changes we do get to see in our district, such as the farm to table initiatives led by our new community chef, the recipient of a green ribbon recognition for our commitment to sustainability, the district's commitment to social emotional learning, just to name a few. It's a shame that these good things are overshadowed by such damning reports of what's actually going on behind the scenes day to day. Our school deserves leadership that prioritizes integrity, fosters trust, and champions the best interests of students and staff alike. We encourage this committee to rise to the occasion, take a hard look at the issues at hand, commit to meaningful change. Our educators, parents, and most importantly, our students cannot afford to wait any longer. I'll end with this. We want to remind the school committee of the directive issued by Bill Dorfner on October 8th, 2024, to quote, "Do your job. We are still waiting."
Thank you.
East Falmouth. Hi. On December 11th, 2024, East Falmouth Elementary Principal Kelly announced her resignation. Ms. Kelly was with the district for just over a year before resigning. While the reason for her resignation is not the topic of my comments for tonight, I charge you all with finding out the facts behind why her tenure was so short-lived. Instead, we need to ask, why was she hired in the first place? While I know you will be told by your chairperson that personnel matters are outside of your purview, I'll remind you that the superintendent does fall within your purview. In May of 2023, Lori Dewar informed the school committee that there was only one applicant to move forward in the selection process, and that candidate was Kelly Kelly. What Lori Dewar did not share with the committee was that Ms. Kelly had no experience whatsoever as an elementary school administrator. In fact, all of her previous experience was in early childhood education. Her profile on LinkedIn confirms this. Why would it be that this candidate would be the only one to move forward? Is it because everyone else was so underqualified, or was it because someone with her experience was the only one to fit the agenda of Lori Dewar to turn T-Ticket into an early childhood education center here in Falmouth? An agenda that was not shared with the public or the school committee until much, much later. In retrospect, I believe that was her agenda all along, and I believe some of you do too. Time and time again, Lori Dewar has chosen to only share parts of the information available, parts that fit her agenda. Time and again, there's been a failure of this administration to effectively communicate the direction, progress, and vision of this district. This failure of communication has already been documented in past evaluations. How many more crises do we need to go through? How many more times do parents need to stand outside our buildings and protest? How many more petitions need to be signed? How many of you need to be recalled before somebody says enough is enough and calls for Lori Dewar's resignation? She has lost the public trust, she has lost the public faith, and there isn't really any faith left in this committee either. Do the right thing for our community and for our future and remove the superintendent.
Hi, I'm Dominique Kirk. My very first school committee meeting was September 24th. It was just 8 days after we heard of Navigating the Future's proposals. It was a slap in the face to hear Dr. Doerr's goals, and even harder now reviewing them 4 months later. Goal number 1 was student learning experience. This year, with these proposals, many students' learning experiences have changed and haven't been equal across the district. We've heard many stories about how East Falmouth had serious issues going on, staff being escorted out by police, students getting injured while on school property, and a principal abruptly resigning after light was shined on her school. Goal 2, student discipline. Feedback from staff and students. There needs to be a better practice in place for students' discipline and address the inconsistencies in application. Yet here we are 4 months later, and the classrooms are continuously in lockdown. Months after months, we are hearing a different student or staff member getting injured. So much so that the FEA filed a charge against the district with the Department of Labor. Goal number 3, with two-way communication. The rationale here. Gather feedback from a diverse range of families that represent our student body to ensure all voices are heard. Just 6 days after that goal-setting meeting, parents were begging and voicing concerns on how these proposals weren't interpreted, then there weren't any translated documents or presentations to help support our multilingual population. 23 days, 4 open forums later, our multilingual population finally got a Zoom meeting where we could type in our questions, but only a few questions were answered. Again, not equitable, but sharing the decision helps reinforce our commitment to excellence, right? Funny enough, this was my very first meeting. It was conveyed that the school committee should be looking into Dr. Doerr's presentations, observations, meetings, events, and communications that are all tied to her goals. So it's time to stop being her cheerleader and start holding her accountable. Staff and students deserve better.
Good evening, Deanna Rockland. Honestly, it's hard for me to even know where to begin. Being an employee of 15 years and counting with Falmouth Public Schools, I have never felt so discouraged by what's going on around me. I recently watched some school committee from the past year. Randomly, the first one I chose was from January of 2024. Do you remember the family whose son suffered a frightening assault at the high school? Fast forward to December 2024, when another parent described her son's assault at an elementary school. What struck me most about these two events were the similarities. In neither case did the families speak to the compassion, outreach, support, and concern that they were exposed to by this administration themselves or their children. Public comments at both were similar as well, which suggests to me not much has changed 1 year later. Presently, we have an elementary school whose staff requested to meet with all of your committee members. They were granted a meeting with 3 of you, and I don't need to tell you that what they shared was appalling. Their fear is real, and so are the stressful work conditions that they are under. Solid leadership from an effective communicator should never have allowed this to happen. Interestingly, our leader proposes that by making that particular building twice as crowded as it already is, the problems will be resolved. I wonder at what point you'll decide enough is enough. Misinformation, divisive proposals, retaliatory actions against employees, allowing hazardous work conditions, threats to student safety, multiple state agents, and to name a few. And yet, for some reason, we aren't really sure why enrollment is declining. I've found a common denominator. Have you?
Let's see. Anyone online? I'm not seeing you guys. Okay, all right, moving along. First we have discussing and acting on the town meeting articles for April 2025. The 2 items are the stabilization fund and the solar canopies. The information is in the packet for the language. Did you want to speak to it or Paul?
The first article is to draw down $275,000 from the stabilization fund. As you may recall, we drew down $825,000 last April. In all, our other district expenses has gone up $900,000 since the beginning of the year. And so with the remaining money that we have left to be drawn down in April, which is $636,000, we'll be needing this draw to help for the payment of those audit district tuition. As you may recall, we went over this in the last school committee meeting about the need for additional funds for audit district tuition. So that's about it on this.
Yeah, I think the only other thing is that, as it says in that last section, that this is not like the total of our out of district. This is just the unexpected piece that this stabilization fund was created to help us address, so we wouldn't end up siphoning money from the budget to pay out of district.
Yeah, correct. Again, the estimate at the beginning of the year was 2.8 million. There's no way to project the increases that have occurred, for multiple reasons. So the other district tuition is now would be close to $3.5 million. That $900,000 increase, part of which would be paid by this $275,000 draw, the rest from the draw from April.
So we have to take them separately. So is there a motion to approve the language for the Special Education Stabilization Fund language for the warrant for this coming time.
Can I just, is it important for, well, I didn't know that there was going to be a November vote to replenish. We're going to request to replenish this. Is it
We might,
important
we
to
don't
have
know.
that in here, that this will be replenished? Because it's not evident.
We don't know if it will be. We don't even know if this will pass.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we would have to cross that bridge, when the town, ends, because the town would fund something like, replenishing the stabilization fund out of, free cash, and if they don't have free cash, they wouldn't even entertain the idea, I would imagine. So we can discuss it more, thank you. Let's get a motion, is there a second? I'll make that. Okay, now we can actually talk about it. Are there any other questions about the stabilization fund or the request to draw down? It does require a 2/3 vote at town meeting, so this would be just to get it on the warrant at town meeting, and then we would explain to town meeting members why the district budget is so much higher this year than was anticipated, and hopefully they would approve it. No last discussion? Okay, it's a roll call vote. Mike, do you want to start us off?
Yes, Heelan, yes.
Investor, yes. Rangers, yes.
Susan, yes.
Pumping, yes.
Cohen, yes.
No. Welch also, yes, so it passes unanimously, minus Melissa. Next up is the same concept, approving the language for the warrant article for the upcoming town meeting on the solar canopies.
And so we listed here, we have North Falmouth Elementary and Falmouth High School as two candidates that by passing this article, voting in favor of this article, we could potentially put in solar canopies. What this article specifically does is give the superintendent, after the school committee's authorization, the right to enter into a lease for 25 years, I think, no, 30 years on the land, so that an outside developer can pay for the cost of the solar canopies and building the canopies themselves. That being said, we do not have any specific program that we have signed off of for either North Falmouth or for the high school. This is just the first step that we would need to start the process. So this is more of a formality, given the authority to make these lease decisions. If we choose to do that, we can either choose anything else, or we can choose to do it by leasing the land for 30 years and having the developer pay for all of the upfront costs. That analysis and the selection of the vendor, that will be done at a later point. But this now allows us to start the process of exploring this option of entering into a long-term lease.
Because I would imagine companies wouldn't even want to talk to us if
That's right.
we didn't put that, if we didn't have that piece in place.
And this has been approved in regards to, by the selectmen, the select board right now, or is that coming up with the
That's coming up.
finance committee and the select
That's right.
board's
It goes-
recommendation?
Yeah, I think we're the first one on this, but these other, the recreation center and the cricket pond rooftop, that all is part of the town's, and that comes under their purview. So I can't tell you it's been voted on by the selectmen yet. I think it's about to be voted on.
And this was, excuse me.
Yeah, no, please.
This was created with collaboration with the renewable energy town
Yeah.
representative.
Yes, Stephanie Madsen, the sustainability coordinator,
Okay,
yes, she actually created this proposal.
thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we know that it follows the actual.
Right, and I should have mentioned that we have to go first because it involves the schools for North Falmouth and the high school, and then they vote on everything else thereafter.
So they're basically gonna take this exact language and,
It's their language,
okay,
we're fitting it, yeah.
okay.
Thank you.
Any last questions on this one? Is there a motion to approve the language for the solar, is it solar canopies for the upcoming town meeting?
So moved.
Thanks, Terry. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Katrina. Last questions or comments? Oh, Mike, yeah.
Thank you very much. Paul, this is just for canopies at North Falmouth and the high school. Those are the only two properties, correct?
Right, exactly.
And then
Those-
it has to be a canopy.
Yes. In this case, this is for the parking. For example, Mike, it can't be on the roof in North Falmouth because the roof wouldn't support the weight. This is only for the parking lots at both of those schools, Falmouth High School and North Falmouth.
All right, thank you. And Kelly, I will vote now if I can.
Yeah, I think, is everybody good? Yep, please go for it.
Halen, yes.
Thank you.
Katrina, yes.
Augusta, yes. Jeremy Jerry's, yes.
Liskey, yes.
Susie, yes.
Fleming, yes.
Going yes. Welch also yes, it passes unanimously. Thank you so much. All right, more to come on that once it makes it through the select board and finance committee recommendations. Next up, we have our presentation on the budget, followed by the public hearing on the budget.
Writes the share.
Just such a request to us.
Yep. Very good.
Right, so just as a reminder, we presented to you in December. We did not have the exact ask at that point. You'll see that the changes in this presentation that will give you the ask for you to approve at the next meeting. So this is been updated since December. We've had two public sessions, one for the elementary schools last Monday night, one for the secondary schools last Wednesday night, in preparation for our hearing tonight. So we'll go through. It still says December 10th because that was when it originated. So just as a reminder, we always start with our strategic plan, which is our framework for student success. And then within that, meeting our goals, we look at identify what student needs are. And often student needs leads us to assessing our staffing needs to make sure that we can meet what each student needs. And then we look at the budget and we align our priorities to those needs. We identify and resolve budget constraints, which you will hear Paul speak to tonight. And then we always look at our plan over several years. So there may be some things that we would like to do, but we might not be able to do it this year. As I always say, but we always look down the road the next couple of years and in the plan to see when we might be able to include. So, okay. So the last up here is just that I'm not asking for anything new this year. We stay the course with our academic progress for all students and ensuring that we're making fiscally responsible decision making. So just to look at our current staff enrollment, and when I say current, I mean as of October 1st. These are the official numbers that get turned in. I'm going to point out that at the out of district number, they're at 36. It is closer to 40 now. This often happens as we get into the school year, and the other numbers of the schools could certainly, go up or down some, but this is the official October 1 data.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? Out of district, you mean Falmouth kids that have left Falmouth? That number's hovering around 40, or that's out of district
students that have come into Falmouth, covering their
So
own
it's
work.
actually our special education students that have gone to an out-of-district placement. They're Falmouth students that are in a placement outside. It could be a collaborative.
Okay.
It could be,
Oh, okay, this
yes.
isn't school choice.
Yeah, so they're
Okay.
still our
Okay.
kids. This is
Yeah.
Falmouth enrollment. So
Okay.
we still include them in
These
our
are
enrollment.
students that
That is a good question.
It is a
Thank
good
you.
question. Maybe we should have it say out of district special ed moving forward, just to
Or
make sure.
maybe I should just read it.
It's okay. So our school choices mixed in all of those numbers.
Sorry.
That's all right. I think we're around 180, I think. So those numbers are throughout all of those.
Thanks.
That's okay. The staffing of this year, that would be as of when we prepare the presentation. That can, go up or down a few, as needs always, student needs always come first, and we need to make adjustments as necessary, but that is pretty much close to 675, and it mirrors close to what last year's staffing was. Just a little bit about our teachers and the experience level. It's nice to see in the years 1 to 5, we have some new staff in, but we are definitely we're an experienced district. We have lots of experience from year six and above. And then the educational levels, very proud to say that, our teachers, as you can see, have their masters and above masters level in education. So, two very proud things about the district. A little bit about the student populations. We have the economic disadvantaged students or low income. The title has changed with SE throughout the years. But you can see that we actually came down a little bit in FY25 to where we were in FY22. We had seen a little steady growth at the height of 45%, 45.6% last year. But in FY20 over 6 years, you can see that we've grown since that point. Multilingual learners has been a steady growth. You look at the 6 years ago, we were at 4.4, we're now at 7.8%. I will say that this is usually the growth period for our multilingual learners. January through March, we usually see the most growth for our students coming in. So we'll watch that.
Do we know why? That's so interesting.
I don't know. I mean, people have their ideas of why. I guess I could share.
No, I was just curious.
So a lot. So when there's the way the schooling are done in some of the countries, so they kind of end and then they start. And so this is a time where they can start and move and start the new.
Start in there.
Fascinating.
Yeah. That's what I hear from some families.
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
Probably doesn't cover everyone.
No, I'm sure.
Yeah. So, and then the students with disabilities at 24% this year. In 2020, we were at 18.2. We certainly picked up and have grown over the last several years. And we are watching this and looking at those numbers as well.
Can I ask a question? So I have referenced this before. I know that the economically disadvantaged criteria changed a few years ago. Did the criteria change for students with disabilities?
No, it has not.
Okay, so it's not.
Good question.
I don't want to say that the economically disadvantaged is skewed. I like to highlight that because I feel like it looks like a big jump. So good to know that this is still the same criteria.
Yeah,
Okay,
students with disabilities.
thank you.
Is this the same basic information that we had at our last meeting?
Yes, it is. I'm just reviewing it again
Okay,
because
all right.
we're having a public hearing. And
Right.
if anyone has any questions,
Thank you.
I just want to go over everything.
Just wanted to make sure it hadn't changed significantly.
Yeah, none of this data has changed at all. It's all still the.
Terry's got a question too.
Oh, Terry.
Could you just describe the category students with disabilities?
What could be involved in that?
Who is in that group?
So it may be a student with a learning disability that could be fully included in the classroom. They may need some pull-out services. It could be a sub-separate program that we have here in the district.
A what?
A sub-separate program.
Like Connect.
Like the Connect program, our TIP program or TLC programs so That's basically the right.
Do our out of district kids get included in this as well?
No, this is just in district. Alright, so I'm gonna turn over to Paul now.
Okay, so we're going to go through some of the slides we said the last school meeting, go into a little bit more detail as well. So this is the total funding sources for fiscal year 25. Purpose of having this here is just to give you a basis to compare to for what we're asking for fiscal year 26. So you see in this slide on the upper right-hand corner, you see the town contribution was 48,601,000. The state chapter 70 contribution was 9,621,000. Again, this is for this year. The state chapter 70 contribution went up slightly from what was initially estimated. At the beginning of the year, they estimated 9.3 million. The governor had additional funding, roughly 300,000 to for us, a portion of it in the late fiscal, our last around June, when the governor decided to increase funding for the state chapter 70 funds. So that number turned out to be 9.6 million. So our total budget for this year is 58,222,421. Now, on top of that, we received school choice funding of $1,052,000 for this year, grants of $1,631,000, and then circuit breaker amounts, which again, just to remind people, circuit breakers are calculated in the year prior. So they vary based on the prior year's experience with out-of-district tuition. So the total funding available for fiscal year 25 was $61,560,000. If you switch to the next slide, for this coming fiscal year 26, we project town contribution or requested town contribution of $51,803,000. This chapter 70, we've straight lined, we've assumed no increase in that funding. So that would, again, it's $9,621,000. So the total request of those two to the town will be $61,424,654. And I'll show you this more clearly in another slide. We've just straight lined school choice, assuming the same amount. Straight lined the grants. They haven't been increasing year to year, so this is, we're just using the prior year grants. The circuit breaker, importantly for next year, will increase. If you recall, I just mentioned circuit breaker for this year is 653. For next year, it will be $1,036,000. That's based on that large increase in tuition, out-of-district tuition I've been talking about earlier tonight, roughly $900,000 increased tuition. That's this incremental amount the state will be paying for next year. Okay, so again, the $61,424,000, the top two numbers are what actually goes to the town to have the town vote on. So the next slide, you'll see the year-over-year comparison. So our total local budget this year again is $58,222,421. The new fiscal year 26 budget request is $61,424,000. That's a 5.5% increase, or roughly $3.2 million increase. All right, so now the next slide just kind of breaks down the large categories here between salary and non-salary expenses and increases. So let me just talk about the salary line. So it's a $4.7 million, 12.7% increase in salaries. That's roughly $2.3 million in rounded numbers. But let me just caution everybody, this number is a blend of COLA changes as well as step and lane changes. And then there are multiple other factors that go into this number. So we build this salary line from the bottom up by school, so that you could have retirement at a school that may not be replaced. You could have a retirement at a school that has will be replaced ultimately by a new employee, and so on. So you can have multiple factors. So you can't look at this 4.7% and say that's what the raise of teachers or staff are getting. This is a blend of multiple numbers. All right. So if you look over to non-salary increases, this number is going up 10.2%. The non-salary expenses, I will go into detail on this number. That's a $905,000 increase in non-salary items. Again, we've actually gone through this in previous meetings, but overall, that's for the budget, it's a 5.5% increase. All right. You want to move forward on the, yep. So here's a breakdown, of the local budget. This doesn't include grant monies. This is just what the town budget is broken down. So largest item, obviously, is salaries at $51.6 million level. Instructional supplies are at 2.5, almost 2.6 million. You move to the top left, out of district tuitions would be 1.35. That's the on budget portion of the district expense. Then maintenance expense is roughly flat from last year, $1,053,000. Utilities are up 1.6 million, and transportation is up as well. And again, I'm going to go into these increases to 3.1 million. So if you look at the next slide, you can see the percentage breakdown on those categories. Salaries, 84%, instructional supplies, 4%, the others in the 2% range, with the exception of transportation, which is around 5%. I'm going to just go on to just the special education total spending. I just want to highlight this because it one of the driving factors in our budget. Here's in 2018, we had about $12 million in special education costs, and these are all costs. So this is special education teachers, TAs, one-to-ones, out-of-district tuitions, out-of-district transportation, therapeutic costs, et cetera. So this is the entire special education budget. And if you look at that growth to 2025, it's roughly 18 million. This is pretty much in line with what you see in other districts. This has been a factor in school districts across the state, across the country. And so, in our, we are very close with our brethren in the Cape and elsewhere within a couple percentage points, and it shifts year to year. But these are not out of line. But I think Falmouth should take pride in how it treats its special needs students. It does a wonderful job in educating its special needs students. Some of the realities in the non-salaried side, again, this is some numbers we've gone over the last meeting. So our busing contract is up in January, not in January, at the end of this year. It is out to bid. Those bids are due on January 23rd. So we'll be selecting the winning bid at that point, shortly thereafter. We're budgeting for a 5% increase for the budget. That would be roughly 105,000 of this 370,000. The other cost is the cost of our internal transportation for special needs students. In particular, that's $261,000 for the leasing of the vans and the minibuses that we use to transport special needs students. We're increasing our on-budget out of district tuition line. We're gonna be growing this line over the next few years. We asked for what we thought the budget could be this year, which was $100,000. Next year, I expect this number to be in the $200,000 to $300,000 range. And for that to continue on for the year thereafter, we need to build this out of district tuition line on our budget. In conjunction with our out of district tuition increases, you know, in sending students to other district, we need to transport these students. So those that cost in other district transportation is also going up. Again, that's, you know, we were over budget last year by about $162,000 for that expense. So we're increasing the budget for this year to cover that. Special ed contracted services, that's the therapeutic cost for outside providers for students. So that was over budget, again, in conjunction with all of this by $68,000 last year. And let me just make one point. All of these students that are out of district need this type of service. I don't want these numbers to mask what is a true need of the underlying student. You know, these Falmouth treats their students, special needs students, exceptionally well. You know, sometimes when you're telling a financial story, that gets lost, and I just want to make that sure that point is clear.
Can I just make a comment to that? I know I just kind of looked in on this, but I remember asking our previous finance director, Patrick Murphy, about it when I was brand new to school committee, and he said people have been known to move to Falmouth because of how well we treat our students that require, that are not just the average mainstream kid that needs help, whether it be they move to Falmouth to have their child sent to out of district education, knowing that Falmouth was gonna take care of them. I think that speaks volumes for our town. I really just wanted to highlight that.
And it's something that we hear all the time.
Yeah.
So moving on, the other category of increases cost is supplies for school. These are going up 55. This is largely software related supplies, teaching supplies. There is some commodity type supplies, number increases in costs, et cetera. And finally, utilities, a $75,000 increase. Last year, we had a major increase in our electrical rates under a new contract. This year, our gas contract expires in April. The new one has a 14% increase in gas prices for, I believe it's a 3-year contract that we signed. So that's that 14% is just 75,000. So all in all, these are the major category increases for the non-salary lines. These equate to $830,000. And finally, the school committee will be asked to approve a request of 5.5% increase. That's a $3.2 million increase year over year in the budget for fiscal year 26. Any questions? I know that was a lot of numbers. And
no, it's not entirely new though, because we've seen some of it before, so thank you. Brenda.
I have a couple of questions. They're not in any particular order. So, you are estimating, projecting that in Chapter 70 will be level funded?
yes, and that's sort of the tradition, because they don't take away money from the last few years. They've let, you know, if they've changed the formula, you're guaranteed what you had received the prior year. So we were at 9.3 million was the estimate going into this year, increased to 9.6. So it's just straight lining that.
And you're not hearing any positive rumors that maybe there'll be an increase, or I know sometimes things are in the wind before they're actually.
Not that I'm hearing.
Okay.
This is early for us to hear any of that.
Yeah.
And then a question for you, Dr. Dora. The student population this year, 2,910 students, and I know you've told us previously off the top of your head, do you remember what the population was last year?
I believe the October one was 2,935.
Sounds good.
Well, I was like, yes, I believe that was it, but I mean, I could, at some point it was that number last year. I think that was the October one.
And then my last question is for the out of district transportation. I know that at a previous meeting you had presented the idea of leasing some vehicles. And is that still moving forward? And is that in this budget? And if so, how will that be impacting the budget?
Yeah, so we are leasing vehicles today for other district transportation. What also is a factor for other district is we have to bring in private vendors for students that are going to, we may have 5 students going to one school. We would transport 5 students to that school. We may have a single individual going to school B where we have to use a private vendor to transport that second student. What we're trying to do is open up a negotiation with all of our vendors that we use for that private transportation to try to come with some cost cutting, because these are quite expensive. So we're looking for savings in that area. But we currently transport a good number of students for out of district placements ourselves. And we lease those vans and buses.
And that's reflected in the budget.
That's reflected in that.
Thank
you. Sure.
Do we do any of that transportation through the collaborative?
Yes, yeah, they do provide, students that go to the collaborative, they provide transportation.
Yeah, I was wondering when the grants, they were sort of level across from last year to this year, and I was wondering if anyone just can tell me how many grants we have and are we gonna keep sustaining at a level? Is this like a long-term grant system?
Yeah,
Do we have a bunch of them or just a couple?
It's actually in your budget books on section 14, we have a list of grants. And you can see the comparison to year to year. So there's entitlement grants, which would be the 240 through 309. These are the major grants. So they're for the people in the audience here. IDEA, which is special education grant for this year, is $982,000. It's slightly lower. We have a small grant of $32,000 for, it's called the 262 grant for early childhood education. We have $591,000 in Title 1, 2, 3, and 4 grants. So that's for reading and math coaching. And then we have a Perkins grant for vocational training for $25,000 roughly. And then a small $1,000 grant from high school equivalency test centers as we administer tests at our schools. So,
And these just carry on, there's no end.
yeah, these are all formula-based grants, most of them.
Okay.
So they change by population size. So it's based on the Title 1 to 4 grants. They're based on lower income percentages within the district, and likewise on special education. So it's needs-based.
Margaret.
I think it's noteworthy that we do a good job with special education, and not to state numbers, but not all of the out of district special education students are coming from outside of Falmouth. Some of them are Falmouth residents. Well, no, I think that's important.
Yeah.
You know, that in fact it's Falmouth money and Falmouth taxpayers, so they should know that, we're not just bringing in people outside, that there are some Falmouth residents whose are our special needs students.
Right, I would just want to clarify, all of our other district students that were responsible for tuition are Falmouth students. So if a school choice student was ultimately came to Falmouth and then was sent to another district placement, that sending town is responsible for that tuition, not Falmouth. So just,
Thank you.
yeah, so our district tuition is really our student cost.
Just a comment as well, like this is a substantial percent increase.
That's right.
For the town to be, for the select board to be willing to put this forward, I think is a testament to, their understanding of the factors in our budget that are beyond our control this year. Being almost $1 million in things that we have absolutely no control over, like transportation and utilities and the cost of just buying things. So, I just want to acknowledge that it's noted that they are supporting us in this way. And we're always so grateful for the support of the town, both the town leadership and the taxpayers who are paying the bill as well.
Can I just add to that, Kelly? I do want to know, and I'm glad you brought that up. It is an incredibly cooperative relationship with the, town hall and the leadership there to come to an agreement on these numbers. And they've been exceptionally supportive of the school system. I think your point needs to be emphasized. They've been strong supporters of the school system.
Any last questions from the committee? And then we will move on to open
Are you
the,
taking questions from the public at all, Kelly?
that's during the public hearing.
For like, so no, questions from the public
On the-
with us, the budget?
The questions are during the public hearing, which I'm about to open.
Oh,
Give me 2 seconds. Okay. So we need let's see, do we lose my, yes, so we do not need to roll call. I make a motion that we open the public hearing on the school budget for fiscal year 26. Is there a second? A second. Thank you. And a vote is required. But we don't need a roll call. Great. All in favor of opening the public hearing for the budget for 2026, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great. All right, so our public hearing is open. Now you're up.
Well, thank you for the work you do. This is not.
Can you come over so that the audio will pick you up?
Yes,
Thanks.
I just have 2 questions.
Sure.
Easy. My first question is, so in June, the chapter 70 funding was bumped up to 300K. Where do you anticipate allocating those funds, the 300,000?
Well, that sort of blended in with all of it.
Of like operating costs and all
Yeah,
that good stuff.
exactly.
Okay, so it wasn't like one set area?
No, it wasn't directed to one set of areas, blended in with all the other increases, so both salary and non-salary.
In supplies, wherever.
Yeah,
Okay, so it's like spread out. And then, do you anticipate you utilizing all the Title I and out of district revenue again this year for salaries, strictly salaries?
That's true, yes.
Okay.
That's the only, those are the only, outside of 1 or 2 employees, so it's the only grants that we really still have staff funding for their salaries.
Right.
So they're almost fully used for salaries.
Makes the economy a little cleaner for you too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
All right.
Thanks. Any other questions on the budget? Okay, any last information that we need to know, Paul, for the budget before we close the public hearing? Okay, well, let's start this week. I make a motion that we close the public hearing on the budget. Is there a second? All in favor of closing public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That passes unanimously, so. Pardon me?
I blinked and I missed it.
We're counting it. Yeah.
Oh, no, I said.
Oh, the
aye. I
entire
meant the
hearing.
entire
Yeah,
hearing.
exactly. I know, it's usually pretty quick. because we do so many iterations of the presentation during the year, so we already have access. Policy is next up, a first read on a number of policies, all tied to the elimination of MCAS as a graduate. I think they're all.
No,
they're not. Just the first one, sorry.
Oh, the first couple.
Yeah, couple.
Yes, okay, before I introduce, the first one about the, Falmouth, we have, principal of high school and assistant principal, Alan Harris and, Tom McManaman. If we can pull another chair over so both of you can sit down, that'd be great. Okay. All right, so,
Yeah. Policy doesn't have to explain it, you guys are on the hook.
We tried to go over this yesterday, a policy. Thank goodness you guys are here.
So
I don't know how you feel about that in 10 minutes.
I just want to start out, so the first three policies are, as Kelly said, have to do with, the changes that we need to make, to our policies, the revisions, since, MCAS is no longer a, requirement. They're gonna explain a lot of them. We can go through, and talk. I know this is unusual for a, policy subcommittee. Actually reviewed this last night, at the policy subcommittee meeting. You're seeing it for first read, and then we'll ask you to vote again, at the next meeting. So it did move, through quickly. We were waiting for guidance from DESE. And, the superintendents have met a few times. And so, and then of course, the team at the high school, and the administration, has worked on this. So we feel like that we're really comfortable with what we're presenting, to you. It wasn't, even the policy subcommittee and then the school committee was kind of quick. We want to make sure that the information gets out to our students and families as quickly as possible. But we definitely wanted to make sure that, we heard what the, DESE was, the guidance, what the State Board of Education, comments were, the, frequently asked questions were, guidance was done, before we, brought this to you. So actually we have a pretty good a quick turnaround. What I want to do is give a shout out to, both, Alan and Tom, for all the work they do all the time. And what you're going to hear a little bit, and I really want to shout out Tom, that he does this every single year. So this is really not new for Falmouth, because we have students that have not, passed the MCAS, and then we, have an opportunity to appeal those to the state. And Tom knows the, ins and outs of the standards of all the courses that are required, and is able to, and really takes the time. This is nothing easy, that he writes up, this massive amount of work to turn into the state. And, the incredible number of students that you've been able to bring to graduation because of the work you have. I want to public acknowledge, so you really do a great job. For us, we're gonna go through this, but, our actions will really not be much different than what they have been in the past, with that. So we get kids to graduation. So I'm gonna turn over to you. Do you want to talk, through this from your point, and then we can go line to line if anyone wants to.
As you want to go line to line, you have specific line to line questions, please let us know. I'm gonna try and give you just kind of the overview of where we were, where we are, and what this change will mean for our students, right? Some of it, the work at times, I think for people in the public and even for people in school can feel mundane, that happens at the district and school committee level. I want you to know how essential it is for the work that's been done the last 5-6 years at Falmouth High School. There's two elements to what is on the essence of this school district that really are like a North Star for our work and has helped us be in a really good place coming into this, right? So one is a community committed to excellence, every student, every day. So you'll hear that as we go through this, because that is really kind of the beacon we use as to how we process through. There's a strategic plan on the district website, and that informs down to our program of studies, which at the end of the day is the nuts and bolts. From the moment you leave Lawrence and you come on to Falmouth High School, it all is real, so to speak. That's going on a transcript. That course is going to count or not count towards graduation and coursework, and all of that work has been done. And I think it's one of the things when I applied and looked at the school district, and then certainly as I met Tom and worked with it, of the 8 high schools I've worked in, it is the most refined in really understanding what those requirements are. So I say that because
kind of Dr. Dewar mentioned, the last 5 years, as we worked through COVID and had the MCAS test in place, every year we would come up against a small number of students that were passing coursework or were coming to kind of that crunch time their senior year of passing or not passing coursework, and were at different places related to the MCAS requirement from DESE. A reality for Falmouth High School, our bar is much higher than the MCAS test. We have more students who struggle to pass our courses, much more than struggle to pass that test. I think that's important for our community to know and understand. Our bar from our teachers in the classroom is extremely high, but we do have some students for a variety of reasons that may struggle coming into that test for a multitude of reasons. As we move through that process, and Tom will explain it in more depth, we would work with DESE on where that was, and they gave different options to be able to say a different way you may have met that requirement or not. That's what Tom worked on. For this incoming class that will graduate in May in 2025, they were in 7th and 8th grade during the pandemic. And if you think about that and where that class was as they're in this part of their senior year, there's a total of just 7 that are impacted here. All the rest passed the tests where they were supposed to be. And some of those, you talked about students who are served with IEPs, some of our students that are in that are going to be served until they're 22 because they have some developmental delays, and we will serve them through, and they will get a completion rather than the diploma. So the work done by the teachers in the classroom, Tom supporting them, Dr. Tellier, coming in here 3 years ago, I continue to be so impressed with the instructional level and what happens, and it's reflected here. And I'm gonna let Tom talk through, because one of the things is we noted each year in the spring, Tom would be on the phone with someone from DESE talking through what we've done for each student. And there was a point a couple of times last couple of years where the person from DESE would say, Tom, I trust you. What you guys do in Falmouth, I know is right. And it really is that kind of work that's set up where when this came, Dr. Tellier and Tom have been on for about a month now, plus working with DESE and understanding where districts work. And it set us up to be in a really good place, I think, to have a policy in front of you that reflects committed to excellence in every student every day. So we should talk about kind of how you got here.
Hi, Brett. Nice to see you all. So not to belabor the point too much, very appreciative to Alan and Dr. Dewar for the kind words. It's only as good as the wonderful work our teachers do every single day and the trust and relationship we have at the school with people like Dr. Tellier and people like Tom Bush and Derek Zara, and all the way down the vertical alignment and the strength that's been built up over the years to get students where they need to be. So just one cog in the wheel. When Dr. Tellier and I, when the news came, the vote passed in November, there was a webinar pretty soon after that Sonia and I sat in on to go through the nuts and bolts of what the state was asking. And basically what they said was, to give you context, local control has always been in the place of graduation requirements. I think you all know that is part of our policies. And what the state had was a competency determination. Those were measured in the state of Massachusetts by 3 MCAS exams in by the 10th grade, English, math, and science. So when the vote came through and said MCAS will no longer meet that competency determination, there still needs to be some measure that districts have to meet that. So they're giving some control back to districts to determine what that looks like. And the guidelines from DESE were as follows. You need to have coursework that meets the same standards that would have been met by, I believe it was the 2023 spring MCAS. So looking through that, what you see in front of you, what started with me and Sonia and then went to Dr. Dewar and Dr. Harris after that in conversation is what we believe truly meets that bar of excellence for Falmouth. So the nuts and bolts you'll see are passing grade 10 English or its equivalent, passing geometry, which is that grade 10 math course for most students. It's grade 9 or 10 math by grade 10. The majority of our students have met that geometry requirement. And then passing one of 3 science courses that were the option for that spring 2023 MCAS. Similar in scope to what happened when DESI waived MCAS during those COVID years. That was Dr. Tellier and I on the phone going through each individual student to make sure they met that coursework. And that's kind of similar to what we'll see going forward. So meeting that or its equivalent, which again, I think as Alan pointed out, I think just the district overall has done really yeoman's work in the past few years at reestablishing, coming out of a pandemic, what excellence means for the Falmouth Public Schools and for our students in Falmouth. Reestablishing that bar of excellence, and then that every student every day is that equity that's essential to making sure we're meeting each student where they are when they walk in the door and giving them the scaffolding, the supports, the accommodations they need to rise and meet the challenges. So all that to say, you'll see in front of you that the main pieces of change there are moving away from the MCAS requirement and moving towards the coursework, those 10th grade courses for most of our students.
So on the front page, you will see that we have cited Mass General Law. So the MCAS went away, but the competency determination did not go away. So the MCAS was reflected in the law at the state level, and that they took that. So now it's just in the local control, as Tom had just mentioned. So we still have to do the competency determination, and just to reiterate what Tom said, we have the graduation requirements, and then we have the CD, the competency determination. And on the second page, what Tom actually laid out is that for the 2023 MCAS, there's 3 subjects. And so these are the subjects, and we put equivalent because that's what we do, because it's, you know, you have choices in the courses. On the science, there could be an equivalent to those. We want to leave that up. There is a note here that I think is really important that I want to state. It says, in the event that a student transfers into Falmouth High School at any point during their high school career, a transcript review will be conducted to ensure that the coursework from the student's previous schools is aligned with Falmouth High School coursework for the purpose of meeting the CD requirement and the high school graduation. And we will leave this review in the hands of the principal when those transcripts come in to determine that. So that was really important to us to make sure that we can work with every student come in. Not unlike we do now. I just, if I feel like, since it's coming back to local control, we felt it really needed to be stated in there that that review will take place. And that's whether a student is, you know, coming from as close as Barnstable to somewhere else in Massachusetts, to another state, or even to another country, as our, you know, many of our L students come in, and we work with them in the same way we would work with all of our students. The third page, you're going to see just some language change, some strikeouts, and just to meet the law and the new local control, changing some language under the certificates without graduation. Hasn't changed. It's just correcting. So and Mary Gans could not be here with us tonight, but she went through and followed the law and just was updating, you know, the specifics. The meat of it was really what they shared and what's in the first 2 pages. If you go to the next page, we actually took out, you can see a cross off the social studies, because now world history is included. And instead of listing everything, we follow Mass Core. Not all districts do. I hope most do, but we follow Mass Core. So really leaving it open with just the credits and knowing that we follow Mass Core as they make changes. We don't have to keep coming back and making changes in the policy. So that's why that, you know, again, just to change our language from foreign language to world language. That's not what we call it. It was a time to just update it, right? And then again, I think if you go through, these are just little tweaks just to make sure that we're completely aligned. We've added in some links. Do you want me to stop there or go through the next 2? Because I think the next 2 just align with it. Can I just keep going?
Yeah. Let's take all the ones that are
So
related.
the IKFA is graduation in less than 4 years. The only change you're really seeing here is that a few years ago, Terry I'm sure remembers, it was in the 1920, Melissa, too. We were on the policy subcommittee review. And we had taken out all the procedures at that time, and leaving that, so it just, those are the how-to of the policy. And somehow we forgot these procedures, and as we're reviewing this came up, so we're just, removing that out of the graduation in less than, 4 years. And
procedure still exists.
Procedure, the procedures accessible, exact, we're just cleaning up the policy manual where we might have missed something. IHBG, home education programs, and you'll see, just one tweak on this, that the costly determination is no longer at the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, that it belongs to us, and so at the local level, and then there was just an amendment on that last page. So the other two were brief, but since we were doing this, we thought we would do it as a package.
So, so once we approve these at an upcoming meeting, how are we, I mean, I imagine some families are probably asking, is my kid gonna graduate and what are the new rules? So how are we gonna do that?
Well, I mean, we also have a really exceptional counseling team. So each one of the seniors has been in dialogue for, if any senior was in any way in jeopardy of having of possibly not graduating coming into this year, their counselors in dialogue with them, and was in dialogue with them starting in September. So if that processing through, a lot of this actually is, so if they hadn't passed in 10th grade, they've been working on either working to pass or what another competency would be already. So it for their world, it's not a whole lot different than where they already were. This provides, I think, at least for us, clarity. We've been working for a couple of years on having clear high expectations for students, right? And what does that look like? And this allows even another level better for us in the clarity of this language, some of the language cleanup. And we were intentional. Some districts or high schools chose to not have language in there that they had to pass the course. They stayed with the more simpler guidance from DESE of you've shown this competency. We were intentional about saying, no, we want you to pass the course. Like, our expectation is you'll pass the course. There will be some exceptions based on when you transfer in or other issues that we need to do a review of coursework for you to meet that competency, but that should be an exception. And I think that's that excellence and equity piece we're trying to get at. So bottom line is, I think for our students that are in this place, they've been in that dialogue already. Once the policy is final, we'll be able to move it forward and provide that, but I would.
But for the bulk of people, it doesn't really matter.
It's really the counselors that are in the dialogue.
So through the November retake, anyone that passed the MCAS were grandfathered in. It was only from December 5th on, and we had a very small number of students.
It was, as Alan said, it was 7 students. When we came back September 1st, we were looking at 7 different students. And, then many of them have also, through those retests and things, already satisfied competency determination.
Okay. Any questions about MCAS? Yeah.
I just, and then mine was a little bit of clarification. I read that students had to be at the school for 1 term.
Enrolled.
Enrolled. I asked that question yesterday,
Yeah.
and Mary clarified, oh, sorry, Drew.
Well, if I need, well,
Mary clarified that enrolled and being in the school are different things. You're not gonna actually be in the school building. You can still be homeschooled.
I see, so homeschool.
Enrolled just means
Okay.
that you're registered with the district.
Okay. Then the other 2 things are that in various places, it requires a superintendent or his or her designee. But then 2 times later, it only has a superintendent. And I would assume that they should always put, if it's either or at the very, I don't know what page that's on right now.
Are they
But I remember
different
reading
topics? Are they all the same?
If it's different times, sometimes we try to always do designate if there's an allowance for a designate. So I don't know if you
Well, it
want
was
to point out where it is.
It was about your decision making. About the superintendent.
The appeal, it did say,
The appeal
the
has to
appeal
be-
does not allow for a designee, I saw that one. Oh, here it is. It's on the second page. If the principal's decision is appealed, the superintendent.
Yeah.
So that's
Just
one.
superintendent.
Okay. There are two of them in those. So the appeal.
So maybe policy can just make sure that the places that it allows for designee, we have them, and the places that don't.
That's all. That's all I wanted to add.
Yeah.
I'll have Mary do one more look through.
Just to make sure. Yeah, Chris?
So my question is just more of like clarification.
Yeah.
So is it kind of like there are kind of two requirements for graduation, one by DESE where like going back to when MCAS was required? So if a student passed MCAS, would they be allowed to graduate, or do they also kind of have to pass the district's standards?
Yes,
So it's kind of both, okay.
Yeah.
And so now they still have kind of the district's
Yeah.
standards.
Yeah.
But then also passing those kind of 10th grade
Yeah.
equivalents.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
You got it.
That was a really good
Thank you.
summary.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, that sums it up nicely.
One of the questions I asked Mary yesterday was, will they still be taking the MCAS? And she said that they're still going to administer the MCAS
Mhm.
test. It just won't have the same requirement. It will not be part of graduation.
Same as it is in all the other grades that it's administered. It provides a barometer of where we are related to other schools in the state.
Well, I'm sure it helps teachers know what if they missed teaching something well and everyone in the class didn't get it, then they know, okay, gotta work on that. I would just think it would help teachers. Oh, sorry, Glenda.
I just would like to give both of you kudos for your advocacy on behalf of students, because I'd like the public to know that that's not common at every school in the state. And I've had personal experience working in a school where the certificate of completion for some students, particularly multilingual learners, was good enough. And by you going the extra mile for all students, that really takes a lot of time and commitment. So I just thank you for doing that.
You're good?
Clarification, is it a link English 10 or English 11?
English 10, it's English 2. I think it's,
Oh,
there's a
English
Roman
2,
numeral.
Okay,
Yeah.
great,
Oh.
thank you. It looked like 11
Yeah,
to me.
there it is, Roman numeral, and it's everything.
It probably looks better when it's in black instead of red. It's hard to read. I thought there was a ton of missing punctuation until I realized it was just the color. Any last questions?
I still think it's a missed opportunity on the part of the state to not have history be part of the new competency for graduation, because it's all part of Mass 4. All of these course requirements, history is part of it, and it would be a great chance to add that into the graduation requirement.
Yes, we know they're taking a number of coursework in the district.
Mm.
All right, thank you. Thank you,
for
guys.
coming.
Appreciate it. All right, so that'll come back to us. And next up is advertising, a few edits to the advertising in schools. Thank you, policy, for revisiting this one when we ran into a situation where it didn't quite make sense. Who wants to take it? Okay.
So when we looked at it, the new addition that we added is the last statement. I'm just gonna start here
Yeah.
because this was the reason for bringing it to policy subcommittee. And then I give kudos to the policy subcommittee that while we were doing that and we noticed some other things, we made some other changes. So the last thing, notwithstanding the foregoing, local organizations and groups that partner with the school district will be allowed to use the name or logo of the school district and or the name and logo of the individual school within the school district when approved in advance by the superintendent. And just as an example, we have a lot of partnerships with Woods Hole, with the Kuna Mesa, Wacoit, and we do a lot of work together and our students are actually participating in a lot of the work and they do like to, give a shout out to Falmouth Public Schools and the just our partnership. And I think allowing them to be able to use the logo, I think is really important. Most recent, the Kuna Mesa had asked if they were putting up a sign because they're doing restoration work on the Kuna Mesa River, and our students are a part of it. And so they wanted to be able to advertise that our students, come on a regular basis. They do a lot of work right in the river with them, and it's a great and exciting partnership. And so And then when I read this, and I'm like, well, it really doesn't allow for that. And so, and I think that's appropriate to have us on the sign. So that was the addition. Then while we were talking, you move under types of advertisement, B, publications. We just added including but not limited to student publications published by student organizations, which really aligns with our practice. We've been doing it. So I think we were doing a clarification. And then,
Do you have just an example of what you mean by
I
this? So
brought
like
that-
student newspapers?
I brought that one up because there's little programs at plays and
Oh,
sporting
yeah,
events
yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff like that. It's full of local business
Yes, it does.
advertisements.
yeah,
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Prohibited.
Yeah, and then under D, other solicitation of sales or use of the name or logo of the school district. We did not have in there or the name or logo of the individual school within the district. So, you know, so you're not allowed to use, you know, not just the district logo, but we want to make sure it's not the school logo either to promote any product or service. So that was just cleaning something up as we noticed. So thank you to the policy subcommittee as we were reviewing.
Nice job, policy. Thank you. So that'll come back at the next meeting as well. Any questions on that one? Of course, you can always send the policy if you catch anything. Update by the Office of Teaching and Learning and your pinch
Yes,
hitting?
I'm pinch hitting.
Okay.
Sonia apologized for not being able to be here. There was emergency situation she had to be here. So, but she sent me her notes. So here we go. So the first update is on goal 1. And goal 1 for the district was we believe in Falmouth, all students will have the sense of belonging, that they know that they are valued for the unique identities, strengths, interests, needs, language, exceptionalities, and background. For the 24-25 school year, we were focusing on the selection of instructional materials. We continue to implement the iReady program from K to 8 that was purchased last year and implemented. So it's continuing, going really well. So this year we are looking at the high quality literacy program, K to 6. And so we do have a team that is going through that HQIM, that high quality instructional materials process with the state. We are in where we are right now is we have narrowed it down to 2 finalists materials, and they'll be doing more work with them in February with the outlook of March to actually select a new literacy program. We're looking at an introduction of investigating history. Katrina just brought up the history, so that's one for grades 5 and 6. And then we're just, they're in the process right now of updating the inventory and prioritizing new purchases that happens each year. They're in that process. And then the collaboration among multilingual and our ELD staff, general education, special education for materials that can be specifically used for our students in the ELD programs, our multilingual learners. Under professional development and resources, continuing with the PD with those finalists, PD from Dr. Katie Novak around the MTSS process. That's the multi-tiered systems of support. It was an identified area of need for retraining for all of our district, which leads into the MTSS implementation and training that we had added in several entry points throughout our district goals this year as we refocus. Again, doing the professional development, doing resource collection to assist on the ongoing adjustments, and data-informed instruction decision-making, and then having a focus on our IST process as well, the instructional support team, which when teachers have concerns or administrators have concern with students, with certain students, there's a process, there's a team where you bring, you may come up with some interventions or some strategies for the students. Teachers go back and work with those intervention strategies, they progress monitor, they come back. So it's a process of continual improvement and growth for our students. So a focus, so that was the District 1 update on the goal. Her other update, we have listed as a tiered focus monitoring. Congratulations to Sonia and her team. They have concluded the process. This was just an annual review process, but it is done. The last 3 pieces that they needed to work on was update the student exit criteria to align with DESE's updated access score guidance for our L students or multilingual students. And so that is all updated now and aligned. Update student placement to align with DESE's updated guidance released at the same time during that review. So everything was updated. So it wasn't that we were outdated, it was all happening at one time. So we required it, it's done. And then add teacher registration in the SEI endorsement course. So years ago, prior to my entrance of 7 years ago, SEI became a requirement for all teachers to have. And so just making sure that all students or all teachers, educators are registered. If they haven't had the course yet, that they're registered. So all of that was met. Those were the last 3 things. And so congratulations, that part of the tiered focus monitoring has concluded. So those are correct. Okay.
Lori, I'm sorry. There's so many acronyms.
I know. Yes, I'm
Is there
sorry.
anywhere that I can access that in like a written form or have someone print it, like share and print it out for me or something? There's just, I don't know what SEI is.
We
I tried to
do
write
in our
things down.
booklet, we
Yes.
have
Yeah.
them in the.
We did
No,
that
I
a
mean,
few.
I mean, their report, because I was trying to write things down. But
Okay, so but what Terry's saying, we did that a few years ago for the school committee members and all that.
SEI, all those things are in that binder.
In your binder.
Sure, I meant
Okay.
the update. I just was not able to keep up with you while you were talking, so I don't.
I feel like that would be helpful for me.
I
as
don't
well,
remember
to have
everything you
something.
just said.
Oh, to have an actual
To have a copy of the
update.
report.
Okay,
so I
okay,
could
yes.
see, so I can just like.
So maybe I talked faster because we had updates in the fall. We had
Yeah, I
updates
just
in
couldn't keep
November
up
and
with you.
December, and you guys didn't ask for that, so maybe I talked too fast.
Oh.
Okay.
I misunderstood you,
Well,
sorry.
part of
Yeah.
it is not, I'm not fluent in all the acronyms
Yeah.
yet, and also it's just fast.
After 17 years, I'm not fluent in it.
What is SEI? Sorry.
Sheltered English instruction.
Sheltered, okay.
It's so all of our general educators have strategies to work with our multilingual learners in the classroom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, next up is the presentation on mid-cycle progress. Front page.
Oh, I
was gonna say. You have a lot.
Okay, that's fine. All right, so I am going to, let me get my presentation. It's this one. Share. Thank you for your patience. Slideshow. Okay. Oh, just got that. Okay, that's a grab line. Okay, notes. All right, so so this is the mid-cycle. The goal 1 was to ensure that equity audit results are addressed by strengthening the bright spots and creating a plan to address the areas for improvement selected by the school community. And if you remember from the audit last year, there were certain areas to address. This goal of mine mirrors the district-wide goal around the equity audit. So I felt it was important that this aligned. So this actual first one was Sonia's update that I just gave. And so this is the area in the student learning experience goal. And so I'm not gonna repeat all that since I just did it. Henry on December 10th gave the update on the student discipline goal. Just as a reminder of a few things that we're working on is making sure that the alignment from elementary clear through the high school is developmentally appropriate when we report behaviors, And then certainly, you know, the reporting is one thing we're working on, but then what is it that we're doing? What are we doing with that data to improve the outcomes for all students? And then Sandy on November 12th meeting, she gave the update on the two-way communication. Just as a couple little reminders of what she gave the update on was the focusing at the school level and making sure that families have feedback back to the principals at the school level. Last year we focused as a full district, and now we wanted to bring it down. And so doing that through principals' weekly messages, but also adding in periodic to get with QR codes or with little surveys, 1 or 2 questions at a time, just to get feedback from families on something that's important with the school, so that so they know how they're doing and if they need to make any changes with that. Also with the promoting the talking points, it really is a great communication, not only with our new students and new to English, but the families that are new to the English language. And then ensuring that our communications are accessible to everyone. And then making sure that that we confirm family email addresses that we have in PowerSchool and ConnectEd, because that's the way we communicate out that all of those are correct. So those were a few of the highlights that for that goal. All right. Goal 2, build capacity among all employees of the district to implement environmental stewardship and sustainability education and practices related to their role in the district. So we have continue to grow opportunities to educate students on environmental stewardship and sustainability practices. This goes back to a lot of our work that we're doing with our partnerships, Woods Hole and the greater Falmouth community around just the environment, sustainability, coastal resilience, data tracking over time. The composting, as you know, we have composting we started last year, and that has grown. We've continued this year, but we did not only just were composting, we actually, you know, had stories and books and trying to teach children why that's so important. So it's that learning piece of the composting, which is, I'll talk about later in a different section, but it's going well so far. And then the solar, so as we move into solar that Paul has been talking about, because he talked on December 10th a lot about the solar and the pieces around that the district goal for that kind of lines in this goal. The finding opportunities for students to work along with when we're talking about solar, so that students are understanding about the reduction in energy, the savings, and why clean renewable energy is so important. So those things are being planned as we're moving into that solar area. It's not really just delayed, right? Sorry, it was working fine. It's just hitting this button, but it's just not going to the next one. Or we could do it that way. Thank you, Mike. That's why he came over. All right, so the next one was explore and improve new and existing strategies to reduce waste through the implementation of still cows, school and community composting, and the recycling. So part of the benchmarks were we added the composting bin at the ad building, and then it was just to, you know, watch it, assess it, and see if it's successful. We have had literally no issues with that bin. I am so excited. They come a couple times a week to empty bin, and there's this full sign at the top. So people are really using it. And so So we need to, now we're talking about adding a new site. The only situation as we're assessing at that location is that it needs a roof, because when it rains, the water will, the structure, and it's a beautiful structure. Our high school students did it last year, our seniors, but the rain does leak into and so we get water. And so what our mitigation plan is that DPW is building a new one with a roof. We're gonna put it in place, and then we're gonna take the current one, we're gonna, then we just don't wanna lose any composting in between. And then we're gonna take that, add a roof to that, and then we're gonna look for a second location, because it's going so well. And so anyway, so that's the kind of the update on the composting piece. The recycling, this has been interesting. So I didn't realize that we needed to do a discussion. So working with the principals, we really needed to talk about what we can recycle and what the, and Paul's grinning because he's kind of working on this one focus. So we got nice little stickers. We made more posters. They allowed us to take it and make posters that we could get out in the schools, exactly so we're in the education mode now. So the first part of this goal was to assess where we are on the recycling, because we are trying to, reduce waste, right? And so, so we can't compost, we need to recycle. And so we have done this. This is actually, I think, helpful. We're continuing to assess how that works. The steel cows has been a little bit more difficult. The vendor that we use for milk, which is the bulk of what we use them for, is for and they're in the cartons, had said that they were going to add the bulk milk that goes into the steel cow. They have not added that yet. So my goal may have been a little ambitious to get it throughout the district. I still think we might meet it this year. They're still talking about adding it. And because it's the bulk of that vendor and what they supply for us, it's not like we could pick up another vendor because we're under contract with them. So they assure us that they're still going to get it. We're going to get the steel cows in our cafeterias because it's less waste with the cartons. And we'll be using the plastic, the reusable cups like we are with the trays and so forth. So we'll move in that direction. We are just behind on that one at this point, just because we're waiting for the milk.
I need another district to say that they want them too, so we'll have to carry it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then the next one was increase energy efficiency, and that was again, Paul on December 10th was giving his update, so I won't repeat, that was a lot of it, but he was talking about the solar, he was talking about the electric buses, and we still have, Paul spent time looking into the federal and state grants and tax credits. If we move to electric, the other part of my goal is that we need to figure out the challenges. It's not as easy to move to electric, but we are moving slowly. We're looking at adding another electric van after the November vote on our capital plan. So we're moving there, and we'll get there. But and then that solar, and the other piece of that was taking the warrant to the town meeting in April, which we are in line to do. So for 2 solar projects. So, good. And then the last one was really around our partnership with Farming Falmouth, and then the grant we received that wasn't in dollars, but it was giving us a coach for the year, if you'll remember. So we formed a team this summer. We visited 2 farms. We visited the one Farming Falmouth here in Falmouth, and then we visited the farm that was over in Martha's Vineyard. Then we've been meeting monthly, and a team of people went to the 2-day retreat in September, and then our coach is continuing to work with us. And I've been giving little updates all along, like moving, looking at contracting and getting more fresh local fruits, vegetables into the cafeterias, which the chef has been doing, and working, and then that harvest of the month that we've been doing has been going really well. So really excited about that. The last goal was implement a communication strategy focused on community engagement and two-way exchange of ideas. The first was to develop the communication plan, and this was through the fall with the first we created a publicity plan. Chris Horn actually worked with us. Chris Horn we've worked with in the years past around the communication strategies. And then we developed the flyers and social media, the website, the media all around the proposed plans. We had the next one was implementing the plan, and so we formed the building needs task force. We had written communications out. We did the community forums, and then as you know, in December, I brought forward one recommendation was to submit the proposed plans to the for the SOI statement of interest to MSBA for the renovation of Lawrence School. And so that's where we are. Yeah.
Any questions about goal updates? And then everyone should have, I don't know if everyone has done it already, but Sharon has sent out the link a couple times to schedule your formative meeting to sit down and review the content of tonight, pardon me?
Oh, the mid-cycle.
Yeah. And so hopefully everybody is on the books for that and has an opportunity to review progress individually. Okay, moving on. Acting on the memorandum of agreement, FEA Unit C. Yeah, do you want to, I mean, we were able to review this, the language for it, and discussed it at our last session.
Questions.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to it, but of course I can't find it. Okay, thank you. Were there, and after seeing the specific language, were there any questions about the MOA from the last executive? Okay, is there a motion to approve the are we calling it MOA? It says MOA regarding toileting responsibilities and compensation.
Make a motion.
Thank you. Is there a second? Any last questions on this one?
When it said, I don't have it in front of me. I'm pretty sure that I understand. Thank you.
Yeah.
It was saying, no member will be eligible for compensation unless and until they have been officially assigned. So would that be, in the beginning, they would have to request that they want to be signed up as a sub, essentially? Like, if you are gonna be a person who, the regular person is not there and you need another person to do it, you would have to have somebody who had signed up, who had said, I will be a person who will do that.
You would only get compensated if you actually have to do the work.
Yeah.
But, okay, so would they like
People can
self-designate?
volunteer, or the principals can talk to the individuals.
Yeah, I think that specific language is just that you only get paid if you do the work.
No, yeah, exactly. I just wasn't sure how it was determined who was going to. I couldn't remember from our conversation if it was everybody
Volunteer.
is signing up, or like if it's just how do we decide who's, how do they decide?
So mostly it's the individuals that are actually working with the students on a regular basis. But if they don't want to do that, if someone else does, that's okay too. Right?
I think it was the word substitute or something in there.
Well, because we do have, if someone's out, so
Yeah.
maybe I'm assigned, I got the assignment for the year, I'm receiving the site that I'm out, someone has to do it, so you can get volunteers that who's gonna do that.
Okay, and they would have to then sign that before they could do it, right? They would have to have signed the.
Just with the principal.
Right.
And then the principal
Yeah,
would-
no, I just wanted to make
yeah.
sure I
There's
understood.
there's not any big process around that, I mean.
No,
yeah,
sure, just
you
wanted to make
understand.
sure I understood how.
And this, it just to remind everyone, this is extending it, it's in the Unit C contract, now with the teaching assistants, and this just extends it to Unit A, B, and D. So those are our teachers, our, building administrators, and then the nurses. So it just extends if they're doing toileting room responsibilities, they also could get paid.
Any last questions? Oh, hold on, I lost my screen. Do we have Mike? Nope. So we have to do a roll call. All in favor of approving the MOA, say aye.
Aye.
Any, opposed? Thank you. Any, abstaining? Okay. Thank you. That passes unanimously. Oh, sure.
Let's do the official sign, so we don't forget.
It was bumpy because the table's bumpy.
I got some water, thanks.
There you go.
That's
Official.
Thank you so
Great.
much.
And that's retro, so.
Yes, yes, thank you.
It's
for
important
saying
that our folks know that
It's retro.
they've been doing it all year. They will get paid for all year.
Yes.
Did you have any other updates? I mean, you've had a lot to say.
So, yeah, I actually have, several here. So we have, just wanted to let everyone know that, we are doing a reunification drill, with Falmouth High School, a limited number of students and families, because this is a, new, location, that we are going to have, in the first, we're gonna do Falmouth High School, and if this goes well, we'd like to look at this being the new location for reunification drills for the district, for all schools. So on January 29th, we're gonna do a drag run with a small group. I wanna give a shout out to Paul Dart. He has done yeoman's work around this. Paul Stefanelli before he left, and now Mike Hurley has also done a lot of work in getting this together. But we've, and I just really want to thank the Cape Cod Church, because they are so welcoming. They are so happy that they could actually provide this opportunity for our students, staff, families. It's a beautiful church, a beautiful location. I don't know where we'd have anything this large. This was always our concern over the last, years, is if we had to do a reunification with the high school with this many staff and students, where could we do that? That would actually, so this is, I think, an ideal location. We'll see how the first run goes, but I just want to give a shout out for all the work, and certainly to Cape Cod Church for, for working with us and willing to grow with us. And so I think it's going to be good. We'll report on after we do it. So,
And hopefully we'll never need it.
and hopefully we will never need it, but
You never
sometimes.
know. I mean,
Sometimes.
Mashpee just needed it, so.
Yeah, right.
Good to
Because
practice.
it's, yes, it can be for a lot of things. Yeah, we had, it wasn't long ago that we had, nothing that was going on with our school at Morse Pond, but we had to, do a reunification as a high school because just proximity to something that was going on in the town. So, I mean, so things do come up, and the church is so close to us. It's so, so anyway, so we're very excited about that. I wanted to give a shout out to the town. And again, I'm gonna shout out to Paul on this one too, because he's worked with the town. But because his relationship with the town is so good, and with Stephanie Madsen, we're working on a heating project at the ad building. We consistently have one side of the building that has no heat, and the other one that has way too much heat. And so, so they're working on it, but the town, Stephanie found grants for us for the boiler and for the valves. We're actually gonna have valves so that we can do it. So it literally came down to no cost for us because we were getting it covered. So, but it's, so it was something that's been needed. It's been like that for years and years and years. So, I gotta give another shout out to Paul. I'm sorry, my first whole list, because I know that during the presentation, he talked about, the reduction of the mitigation of, closing the window of when we have the heat on. But I didn't hear him actually say how much. And in the month of November, there was $16,000 saved by what they've worked on with just, and so he had set the goal a couple meetings ago, told the school committee, we're looking at 70,000 for the year. And we are on the track of being able to save the 70,000 around that. So thank you. It's not a little thing. So I know that.
That's awesome.
So I got several more, but I'm going to ask Paul to speak on the next one. So our lunch participation rates are up. It's very exciting. So give us a couple details, Paul, on this.
Yeah, the lunch program is doing great. I think I mentioned that before. So our goal for the year was to reach 60%. And for many schools, for 4 of them, they're at 60%. So in the number of students participating in the free lunch program. So which is, and it's, you know, you can look at, you know, the largest increase from starting in September was 13% in the number of students. And the smallest increase was around 3%. So all the schools were up. They, you know, really it's the sign of what the food service department has been doing with Andrea and Laura and the whole team within the kitchens of all the schools have really done tremendous. And it's the students vote by participating. So they're voting in favor of what they've been saying. So
It was a great article about,
Oh,
sorry,
it was.
that's your next.
Okay,
one.
so this is the next one.
Yeah.
So in case you didn't see this is a really big deal, and I just want to again give a shout out to Laura and Andrea, the team. It is a big deal when you get a tray accepted. This is a DESE program. Over the last couple of years, this is the very first tray that we have submitted. There's one tray that's selected out of all the submissions each month, so it only happens once a month. And this was the tray, the first one submitted and accepted, and this was the tamale pie that the chef had come up with. And as you can see that, and then we get a shout out to our Coonamessett Farm and Peachtree Circle Farm, which is really exciting. But this was a kale sauteed with sweet potatoes and pinto beans, topped with cornbread and a dollop of sour cream. And then you just look at the whole tray. Isn't it just beautiful? And I just,
It's a far cry from chicken nuggets. I would eat that.
So anyway, I just wanted you to have a copy of this because it's, and the team is so excited about this. This is so big.
I would, I seriously would love that recipe.
Yes. Well, so.
Maybe I'm behind that.
So we are putting all the recipes up on the website. So we are revamping the website for them and there's gonna be a Chef Laura's Corner that all the recipes she's knowing they're gonna be there. So people can. So as the students go home and say, Mom, you know, I love this dish. Dad can fix it.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say the same thing.
Yeah.
That's how it is in my house.
It is.
Margaret.
Well, I think also adding that to what you just briefly said, 60% of the students are really getting nutritious food
That's
that
right.
is healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just 60%, but they're getting really good food. And that makes the 60% even more important.
And then just shout out to Amy Keith, the Mullen Hall and her team
You said it was up to 60% at 4 of the
at
schools.
4 of the schools.
Which 4 schools?
East Mullen Hall, North Falmouth, and T-Ticket.
So elementary.
Elementary school.
That's awesome.
It's easy to get the younger kids.
Yeah, so that's great, because as they age up,
Yes.
Yes.
hopefully they'll
I was
stay in.
wondering, actually if there's lower participation in lunch programming in the middle school and high school in general, is that?
It is lower in the middle schools, in the high school. The high school, you know, is been going up, but that's at 53%. They started at 46%. Lawrence is at 45. They started at 39. So most ones at 40. They started at 37. So they're going up.
Yeah, that's very cool.
That's all because.
It's just exciting that was our goal for the year and then, you know, you know, through December, we're already reaching that at 4 schools. And that's right. Okay, my next. Oh,
Can I just give a personal shout out to the cook manager,
Keith again.
I kind of knew that this was happening when it was happening, and I personally couldn't be more proud of Amy. Is also a K to 12 alumni of Falmouth. She takes her job very seriously with pride every single day, and she doesn't just make beautiful food like this at school, but also at home. And Amy and Tiana and her team at Mullen really, I know that everybody shows up every day, but to see it from a personal side, to know how much, effort that they put in. That should also, be mentioned as well.
Jim.
That's all.
I just wanted to do a shout out for, there's another desserts and conversations. We've had dinner conversations with so the LPAC puts the program on. We do it twice a year. It's continuing, LPAC being the English Learners Parent Advisory Council. And the next dinner is January 23rd, so it's coming up at 6 o'clock. We have moved them. This one is going to be at Mullen Hall. We'll have desserts there, and then some of the conversations. Chef Laura is going to be there and talk about the food, and we'll have school adjustment counselor to learn more about the support services that are available, we are having the library, the Falmouth Public Library. There'll be someone there because they have in the library put up a whole section for the Portuguese and community and just the readings and just learning, everything about it. So one reason we're having it at Mullen Hall, because at the end, we're going to walk across so people can see it and they can sign up for the library cards. So very excited, but that is at 6 o'clock on the 23rd, and just really proud of this event. And something else that's ongoing through the year that the LPAC has been doing for several years, and that's the read aloud family events. It's really enjoyable.
I went yesterday.
And you did your, talk about your reading, because mine's coming up. Talk about your reading.
That was gonna be in my update.
Oh,
So I got to be the guest reader at their family literacy night yesterday. They selected, it was at T-Tech, they selected a book, and there were, I don't know how many families, but there were a bunch of kids. It was so fun. They all sat around and I got to read Not Yet to them, which is funny because that's a phrase that I always used to use with my kids when they would say they couldn't do something. I would always just say not yet, you can't. And so the whole book was lovely, and then everyone got to take a book home at the end, and it was just great.
It's really nice. It's lovely. So anyway, there are some, it's at 5:30. And we have March 3rd and April 14th coming up, just if you wanted to come and participate and whatever, it's very
cute.
nice.
It's very quick too, which is nice.
Yes. Okay, two more things I promise, and then I'm gonna, this is, oh, I need one. Okay. All right, so, in collaboration, with, so Susie Hoffman has done a lot of work around this and working with partners. And so this is on January 16th, which is just 2 days away, at the rec center downtown is going to be Intergenerational Pride Winter Social. So I just wanted to share this out. We've been working with them as well. You can see the number of partnerships, at the bottom that has worked on the social, but I wanted to give a shout out to Susie for all the work that she's doing on that. So we can make that. And then the last, it is time for the Cape Cod Collaborative annual legislative breakfast again. This is hot off the press. Flyer just came out today, so perfect timing.
Though
I know, but
nothing like no notice.
I know, so it came out today, and here it is. I just want to make sure I get it to you. I've already signed up at the bottom, Judy, at the bottom of the email. Just if you can make it, the legislative breakfast is an annual event that's for superintendents and school committee members. So if you can, it's going to be, this is a new location. It'll be at DY. Their new intermediate middle school. So that's where it's at this year. So I know some of you have attended in the past, and if you can come, that would be great. Just sign up and tell them that you're coming.
I was just gonna say, I would, if you can please relay that having a week and a half notice for something that happens in the middle of a work day is not the most thoughtful thing I've ever seen.
Well, that's because it wasn't the collaboratives being targeting us, it was the legislators.
Okay, well, till
They've-
then.
They've been I was gonna talk about that actually.
Oh, thank you. Please,
My-
you want to jump ahead?
My part, no, to get all the legislators together, they kept, putting off.
And there's
putting
some
off.
new ones. There's
Oh,
some new
yeah,
ones
there's new
too.
people.
There's some new people. too, I
Yeah,
think,
yeah,
so.
so,
But yeah,
no,
Okay.
but
fair
here
enough.
it is.
I
It
was
just
just
came out. I
saying.
got it to you.
we've been talking about it for 2 months to get it,
Oh, my gosh.
get a date. for
Okay,
that.
well, then, thank you for working on it, and I hope that the turnout is okay.
I'm gonna stop now. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
gosh,
you
and
for
I,
explanation.
and I got covered the agenda and
It's routine
flyers.
business.
Okay,
And
thank you.
minutes.
Routine business. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from December the 10th?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Is there a second? Any edits or corrections? No. All right, so I have Mike, all in favor of approving the minutes from December the 10th, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, that passes unanimously. Any committee reports? Yes, take it away.
One thing that just to point out about this, breakfast is the regional challenges. I mean, that's a theme that affects everybody, you know, our whole Cape's housing, employees, all kinds of stuff, so they're always very interesting, these breakfasts too. Okay, and another thing from the collaborative is that last week was Paul Hilton's last meeting as the director, the last board of directors meeting. He's been there 15 years. I was there when he was hired, and I'm there now that he's leaving, so. And then there's a new director, I think you've heard me mention her name before, is Hope Hanscom. She came from Mashpee and she will be the new director. The other board that I report on is VIPS, and this young lady for January is Azario Vial. I don't know if you say Vial or Vial. I think it's Vial. Anyway, she
Vial?
it's Vial.
Yeah.
That's how you say it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really a stickler about names, and I just didn't check this beforehand. Thank you, Deanna.
You're welcome.
Okay, she says, she has a list like many of the students that goes like 5 pages long, but she had a quote where she said she likes giving back to the community, meeting new people and making a positive impact. So another great student from Falmouth High School.
Thank you. Any other committee reports? Negotiations is ongoing. That's all I ever get to say. But we will get an update when we move into executive session. With that, I make a motion that we move into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with FEA Unit A and to discuss Department of Labor complaint. Having these discussions in open session may have a detrimental effect on the school committee's bargaining position. It's anticipated the school committee will not return to public session. Is there a second?
A second.
And it's a roll call.
Nevin. Sedowski, yes.
Jerry, yes.
Let's keep yes.
Margaret?
Yes.
Welch also a yes. Thank you so much. We are.
Yeah.
Oh,